What's up, guys? John L. here. So with the end of the Sakaar Arena Thor event, we get the actual release of the 5-star Thor Gladiator character. And while we can't take him for a spin like we would with a 4-star character, we can jump into the roster and take a look at his information and powers and all that stuff. So let's see what the 5-star Thor Gladiator is all about. First thing, we have the art. So they're not using a cover for any comic or anything. Some kind of generated art for the character. Personally, I think it would have made more sense to use a movie poster because, I mean, we know what's going on. So let's take a look at his stats. 13, 343 in health. His colors are green, red, and yellow. So generally Thors are kind of HP heavy characters. The 2-star Thor has good HP, 3-star Thor has good HP, She-Thor has good HP. Don't know where 13,343 puts 5-star Thor in the starting, but I have a feeling that it's probably going to balloon just like Thanos or 5-star Hawkeye, a character like that. By the end, when you reach 450, he's probably going to have a pretty stout amount of HP to be working with. Again, the colors he has, green, red, yellow, very standard, matches the 2- and 3-star versions of Thor. The She-Thor version is a red, yellow, blue, but then again, I think they were just purposely trying to make her a little bit different. So basically, it looks like any Thor that we get in the game is going to be a green, red, yellow. Green being his strongest color. All looks pretty standard. So let's jump into his powers. His first one is God of Thunder. It's green, it's a 12. Usually, you know how I feel about 12, so I think it's a little bit expensive, but this actually is keeping in line with the other Thor characters. This is a very, very standard power for them, especially him. I think She-Thor is built a little different. We'll kind of ignore her for right now, but the 2-star Thor and the 3-star Thor have a power almost exactly identical to this, and basically at 3 covers, the mighty Thor charges his blow with lightning for an explosive attack, dealing 2540 damage to all enemies. At 5, it's going to be 3265, so that looks like kind of a 15% increase, something like that. Also has a passive component at the beginning of each turn. If Thor is below 50% health, destroys 3 basic red, green, or yellow tiles. At 5, it turns to 5. Again, very stock for Thor. Has that green power that attacks the team. If you've read the Marvel Puzzle Quest forums, they actually mention that at 450 and 5 covers, this power is going to do 13,000 damage. They made it sound like a big deal. I don't think it is, really. If you've ever gone against a maxed out Thanos, whenever Court Death fires off, it does, I think, even more damage than this. So, I'm not really impressed by 13,000. If you're talking about taking out 3 stars and 4 stars, it's going to do a lot of damage. You may be able to one-shot some teams, but if you're going up against 5-star characters, bear in mind that 5-star characters range all the way from like 70,000 in health to maybe like 45,000. So if he's going to do 13,000 damage to the team, then he's really only going to be taking about maybe a third, a quarter, something like that, maybe less. of the health of a 4-star character. So it really doesn't do a 5-star character, excuse me. So it really doesn't do a whole lot of damage if we're talking about what Thor can do against 5s. The passive component, Thor's below 50% health, blah 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 blah. Don't really like those, just means that Thor has to get his ass kicked before you're going to see him destroy any of these tiles. The one thing that's nice about this is that there's no mention about no AP being gained on destroyed tiles, so what I'm led to believe is that if your Thor is below 50%, he's going to go ahead and destroy X amount of tiles. You're going to get the damage for it, which is nice, but you're also going to get the AP for it in the 3 colors that he needs to generate his powers. So, not great, but it's better than nothing, and it's actually nice that at least he's going to get the AP for it, so you don't see that a whole lot anymore with these Puzzle Quest characters, so it's a cool power to have. So moving along, we have Asgardian Tactics. It's red, it's a 9. Thor slashes his twin swords through the enemy's defense to deal 2341 damage to the target, ignoring protect tiles. Thor deals an additional 146 for each friendly special tile, up to 10. That's at 3 covers. If we take a look at 5 covers, the damage increases and the additional damage for each special tile increases too. This sounds like a very stock power. It's just kind of like your make X amount of matches to get the AP, and then you're going to target one enemy and just hit them kind of hard. From what I see at level 255, it doesn't look like this power is going to be overwhelmingly strong. It's not super expensive though, so that's what I would kind of expect anyways. The additional damage, it'll be interesting to see how that scales up. It looks like it doesn't get that much better from 3 to 5 covers, and the special tile part, kind of a spoiler alert, but his yellow power does a repeating tile. I always screw that up. A repeating tile that generates protect tiles. So my thought is that Asgardian Tactics is kind of built off the notion that you're gonna fire off his yellow power first, get some special tiles up on the board, and when you cast Asgardian Tactics, you're gonna get additional benefit from the special tiles. That being said though, it's also probably a good idea to pair him up with some other characters that create special tiles as well, whether it's strike tiles, protect tiles, or attack tiles. So something to consider. Otherwise, this power is a pretty stock power. Offense, again, keeping in line with what Thor's generally about. So we'll take a look at his last power. It's a 2-parter. It's yellow. The first part is 9. It's Smoldering Fire. At 3 covers, Thor leaps into the fray to protect his team. Thor creates a repeater tile that generates 1 yellow protect tile with a strength of 161 each turn. This power becomes Raging Fire. At 5 covers, it's 205, so you're going to see about maybe a quarter increase. And it'll be interesting to see what these protect tiles turn into later on, whether it actually factors into blunting a lot of damage or maybe not so much. Either way, it's an interesting concept because every other Thor is pretty much just offense, offense, offense. Again, with the 4-star Thor, she has a stun, but again, she's really kind of different than the other Thors. So, it's nice to see that he's a little bit deeper. Rather than just straight up offense, now he actually has like some other kind of ability that is a bonus to the team. So cost 9, again not cheap, but nothing with Thor ever is. But when you do cast it, you end up getting, it ends up becoming Raging Fire. It's a yellow, it's 12, it's expensive, in my opinion. When his defenses fall, Thor strikes out with Fury. Remove Thor's repeater tile to deal, at 3 covers, 5120 damage to the target. And it has a passive component. When Thor's repeater tile no longer exists, all friendly protect tiles convert to strike tiles, and this power becomes Smoldering Fire. At 5, the damage just escalates to 6583. So, I did mention it's expensive, but if you take a look at 5 covers and even at 3 covers, for a level 255 character, that's a lot of damage. So, I'm just kind of curious to see what this will become level 450. I'm wondering if Raging Fire ends up being maybe the first one-shot for 5 stars, so something that'll deal maybe 30,000 or more damage, and do actual real solid damage to a 5-star character. That's something that we haven't seen, so I'm actually really kind of curious about that. Another thing that's interesting about this power is when you call it, the Protect tiles turn into Strike tiles. That stays, again, in line with Thor being a very offensive character. What I'm kind of curious, though, is does that happen before the damage is dealt, because that'll add even more damage to the Raging Fire attack by having Strike tiles on the board, and then, well, yeah, basically that. So, if I look at Thor's powers, what I'm thinking is you really want to start by gathering yellow, doing Smoldering Fire, maybe turning it into Raging Fire, and then going back to Asgardian Tactics and casting that. You're going to have a whole bunch of special tiles, hopefully, and you're going to have a whole bunch of strike tiles, hopefully, which will translate into a lot more damage for Asgardian Tactics. Same thing with God of Thunder. So, playing with Thor Gladiator, my guess is that you really want someone who can generate yellow, because what we're talking about is 9 yellow and then 12 yellow, that's 21, that's a whole lot of yellow. And that's just probably more than you're really going to be matching in a match, unless that's all you're doing. So, yeah, pairing him up with a character like Sandman, maybe a character like Kingpin. I'm trying to think of who else generates a lot of yellow. That's probably what you're going to want. Get Smoldering Fire, turn it into Raging Fire. In the meantime, hopefully you're banking red, you're banking green. Once you have Raging Fire going with a whole bunch of these strike tiles on the board, both of those attacks are going to do a lot more damage. That's when I think this 5-star Thor Gladiator is going to be pretty devastating. So in regards to defense, though, I don't really see him as being a great defensive character. Maybe you'll get Smoldering Fire cast, but I have doubts that it'll actually work its way to Raging Fire. Whenever I play against the computer, especially with characters like Old Man Logan, generally they don't really get to 12 all that much before the fight's over, so that's kind of what I'm thinking. What I assume, though, is that if you play as Thor Gladiator, if you do end up getting a whole bunch of strike tiles on the board, then his other powers can actually be pretty tough. So it'll be kind of interesting to see if he ends up being really good, or if he'll just be kind of another one-dimensional offensive weapon. So anyways, let me know what you guys think. If I got it right, if I got it wrong, what am I missing? If you found it interesting, please like and subscribe, and thanks for watching, guys. Take care.